Genghis Khan had not yet been born. How could there possibly be any truth about the fall of the Western Xia? Maybe. Zhu Yunfeng continued. In those years, the Mongols attacked the Western Xia, faced strong resistance. I have no choice. The Mongolian talent used Wen Sha to conquer Xixia. But at the same time, the warmth also began to spread throughout the Western Xia. This ultimately led to the complete downfall of the Western Xia kingdom. Wang Pangzi shook his head. This feels a bit off. Even though the Western Xia kingdom perished due to the spread of the worm disaster, why was the writing of the Western Xia largely erased? You need to know. Even the Western Xia imperial tombs. It was also subjected to large-scale destruction by the Mongols. Almost all the words were chiseled away. This is hatred. This is not hatred. Zhu Yunfeng has always been living in Taiwan province. But it has many limbs. He said, back then, Genghis Khan must have discovered something incredible. Later, the Mongols chose to destroy their own script. Actually, it's to prevent that secret from leaking out. Because in the script of Xixia, documented everything about that secret. Wang Pangzi stared at Zhu Yunfeng. What kind of secret would that be? Even if he knows the other party may not be aware. Knowing doesn't mean you can say it. But he still asked. The same. What Wang Pangzi asked. It is also the answer we have been eagerly seeking. Zhu Yunfeng said, I don't know. Legend. That secret was hidden in Lai Yuanhao's underground palace. Countless ghost soldiers and generals stand guard. Very few people can enter. Even if I can get in, no one could come out either. You must have been to that underground palace. Perhaps you should know more than I do. He looked at us. It is in question. But to be honest, we indeed do not know as much as he does. At least I don't. Wang Pangzi suddenly gritted his teeth and said, that person with the surname Liu should know. Who is it? He said, you should know more. He is very familiar with the underground palace. But he won't speak. Zhu Yunfeng said, you mentioned Liu Ting's grandson. Wang Pangzi wondered. His grandfather was named Liu Ting. That's him. He definitely knows more. This person has been making plans. Even that person from the north can't figure him out. What do you want to do? I didn't expect old Liu to be so impressive. Zhu Yunfeng's words. We are shocked once again. At this moment, Zhu Yunfeng took out a royal talisman. Look at me. Looking at the talisman in his hand, a wave of deadly awe emerged. I can faintly see. The rune contains words like command of the five harmonies deity. I'd asked, what is this symbol? Musical notes. All gods and spirits can be summoned. I used it to attract the unmelting poison. But the prerequisite is that your blood is needed. To speak frankly, I haven't recovered from the bloodletting yet. If this continues, I must seek revenge. Lai Liadi. Let's draw some blood. At this moment, Wang Pangzi. They also started to persuade me. I took the dagger. A small cut was made on the wrist. Blood dripped onto the talisman. The talisman suddenly emitted waves of black smoke. It is malevolent energy. The malevolent energy within the talisman, carrying a strong scent of blood, merged with the malevolence in Wind Village, spread throughout the entire Wind Village, until I felt dizzy and disoriented. Zhu Yunfeng finally asked me to stop. Bandage the wound properly. The entire Feng village was permeated with a strong, foul odor of malice. I said, Lai Liadi, why does your blood smell so foul? It almost made me sick. Wang Pangzi teased. I was so angry I couldn't contain it. Just wanted to give him a punch. A wave of exhaustion washed over me. But it made me frown. I feel like my mental energy has been almost completely drained, accompanied by the loss of blood, drawn away by those 5 musical notes. I couldn't help but feel alert again, looking at Zhu Yunfeng. If I have to bleed, then so be it. Why do they have to drain my mental energy? This guy. I'm afraid it was intentional. I fear that words may turn into arrows at this moment. It was all very laborious. If I cannot chant the spell to cast the word arrow, Wang Pangzi could control the word arrows, but not a purely yang body. It is impossible to pass through the spell, conjure arrows of words. At this moment, if Zhu Yunfeng takes action against us, we are only afraid that the worst is yet to come. At this moment, Tao Tao, stepping, his footsteps followed closely behind, traveling far yet near, from beyond Wind Village. The unmelting poison has arrived. He has arrived. I didn't expect it to happen so soon. Zhu Yunfeng reminded us. But they don't need to remind me. We have already perked up. Wang Pangzi said, Lai Liadi, hurry up and transform the words into arrows. I replied accordingly. I'm afraid it won't work. My mental energy was drained by that 5-note melody. What? Wang Pangzi suddenly jumped up, looked towards Zhu Yunfeng. Biu, what do you mean? Wu Yin Fu King Gui Shen. It originally requires a lot of mental energy. This is also things that cannot be helped. Next, you must take good care of yourselves. This is not the poison. Just leave it to me. Zhu Yunfeng finished speaking, as already walked ahead of us. I exchanged glances with Wang Pangzi. There was more vigilance in their eyes. Ji Zhu Yunfeng. It is very likely intentional. Step, treading, as the footsteps drew closer. A figure in black armor appeared in the black mist. It is indeed the unmelting poison. He greedily absorbed the canyon's essence, the smell of blood and menace, a look of pure enjoyment. I can feel it. The untransformed Gu is even more vengeful than before. Protect Lai Ping and retreat. The purpose of the untransformed poison is him. Zhu Yunfeng turned back and said to us. I saw it. He fixed his gaze on. It is the bloody pentatonic scale in my hand. I looked in the direction of his gaze. He nodded. I glanced at Wang Pangzi again. It seems like you want to convey something to me in secret. For his hypocritical expression at this moment, although we feel disgusted in our hearts, but it wasn't revealed. Preserve strength. Observe the changes quietly. This is not a transformation poison. Clearly stronger than before. Wang Pangzi whispered to me and Yue. At this moment, that wild wind, the unmelting poison absorbing the smell of blood and malevolence, just happened to look up and gaze at me. The moment our eyes met, the lifeless gray eyes suddenly turned blood red. He jumped over 3 meters high. It charged directly towards me. I hurriedly retreated. Zhu Yunfeng saw this, immediately took out a yellow talisman and cast it. Directly flew towards the unmelting poison. Ao, ao. Qiang Fu strikes the unmelting Gu. The untransformed Gu emitted a beast-like howl. Black gas erupted from his body. But soon, then the yellow talisman was enveloped by a wave of dark energy. A moment later, it turned into black ashes. Not right. He actually succeeded in mastering the transformation. After Zhu Yunfeng and Qiang Fu were turned to ash by the unmelting Gu curse, showed a look of surprise and suspicion. At the same time, the untransformed Gu also fell from the high sky. The recent talisman. It is the same as the corpse-controlling talisman drawn by Zhang Yuanxian, although unable to suppress the unyielding Gu. But it still left him with certain trauma. Bu Hiregu rises. keep charging towards me. I hurriedly hid behind Wang Pangzi. Lai Liadi, can you still draw the word arrow for me? Wang Pangzi anxiously said to me, come on. I am also anxious. Gave him the cicada shell. Suddenly turned and fled. Wang Pangzi was taken aback when he received the cicada shell. But in that moment, the goo poison has already changed direction and is attacking him. Wang Pangzi turned and ran away. But what surprised him was, no matter where he runs to, not transforming the poison means chasing him relentlessly. Zhu Shixin, please help me quickly. Please help me quickly. This, I can't do it either. Zhu Yunfeng looked troubled. He explained helplessly. Who knows about this unmelting poison? Did not kill and absorb the blood of a loved one. Surprisingly, it can also draw a perfect non-melting curse. This has exceeded my expectations. Something must have happened. Why don't you lend me this sword to try? Zhu Yunfeng said this. I suddenly stopped in my tracks. Looked at him. I saw the cold smile at the corner of his mouth, while sneering. It's closing step by step, preparing for the unyielding Wang Pangzi. At this moment Wang Pangzi, the copper-coined sword has been drawn. As the unmelting curse returns once again, he has already recited the spell. Heaven and earth, the mysterious ancestor, root of all things, four-spirit sky lantern, Liu Jia Liuding, help me extinguish the essence. Shen Vui Wu Zing, perhaps with Wang Pangzi's mental strength, casting the spell in conjunction. The copper-coined sword can still block the unmelting poison. Spell passed. The untransformed goo was just about to pounce on him, as the copper-coined sword deflected it. I was surprised that all I heard was a crash. Copper coins scatter all over the ground, and that unmelting poison just took a few steps back. It's just that some of the negative energy has been dissipated. The canyon is filled with a sinister aura. This is not a match for the unbreakable curse. Cannot cause any harm. Why does he keep chasing the chubby guy? Ewer looks confused at the moment. You need to know. The target of the poison should be me. But the unmelting poison in front of me, it feels as if I mistook someone for another. Chasing Wang Pangzi relentlessly. On his back. I pointed at Wang Pangzi's back. On the back of Wang Pangzi. Sticking closely to a talisman. It is the 5 musical notes that exude a chilling aura. Of course, this is what I intentionally posted just now. There is no other reason. This is what Zhu Yunfeng means. Just now, Zhu Yunfeng looked at the 5-tone symbol in my hand. Actually, it's just telling me with their eyes that unrefined poison will take the 5-tone symbol as me. This is what he did on purpose. Let me use my mental strength and essence, entering the realm of the talisman. Although it will drain all my mental energy, it prevents me from expressing my words. But it will also create 5 musical notes, become my substitute. It saved me a lot of trouble, but I am puzzled. Why did he ask me to play the 5 musical notes? Stuck to Wang Pangzi's body. Of course, even if Zhu Yunfeng didn't make me play those 5 notes. Stuck on Wang Pangzi's back. I am also very big. It might be done this way, because they can take advantage of Wang Pangzi. Block the robbery for me. In this situation, I'm happy to trick him a bit. Zhu Yunfeng approached Wang Pangzi. At this moment, the poison has not dissolved. Wang Pangzi has been pushed to a point of no return. But Zhu Yunfeng showed no intention of helping him. Perhaps I already know the answer. It turns out he never forgot. Seizing the words, "Good job, Zhu Yunfeng." I looked at Ewer. Ewer understood what I meant. I asked Ewer to play the drum. Next, it's easy to control Zhu Yunfeng. But just as Yor was concentrating her mental energy, Wan Pangzi, in a desperate situation, suddenly recited the spell again. Tian Dai Xuan Zong, root of all things, 4 spirit lanterns, Liu Jia Liu Ding, help me eliminate the essence. Chen Gui Wu Zeng, wait a moment. I only lived with Yor. As Wan Pangzi's spell was spoken aloud, I seemed to be able to feel. The breath of that article emanated from his hands. Yor opened her eyes. At this moment Wan Pangzi just finished reading the last line of seamless Yanshin Liazu. Extreme, extreme regulations. Then the spell is over. The crimson light shines. The item suddenly appeared in his hand. At the same time, then Na Bu Huegu charged over again. Wan Pangzi's words hung heavy on his chest. The drum struck without transformation, immediately bounced back. At the moment of landing, dust rises. This, looking at the scene before me, I seem to understand something. Isn't Zhu Yunfeng's purpose? It is to help Wan Pangzi in a desperate situation. Can you conjure words? But why did he do that? As I looked at Wan Pangzi, when one can also transform words, I also felt a kind of deception that insults intelligence, since he can manipulate the words. How could it possibly not conjure up the words? I actually believed his nonsense. What broke the purity of youth? To know the innocence of youth is shattered. It's simply impossible to hold on to the words anymore. But why did he have to deceive me? Could he also be to obtain the word peace? Yet he had countless opportunities, taking away the word document from my hands. I had no defenses against him. He didn't do that. That can only indicate he didn't deceive me for the sake of the words. To be precise, it should not be for the sake of the words, at least not for now, and concealed the truth. Wan Pangzi's lyrics are in hand. It was as if they had become a different person. He walked step by step toward the valley of no return. When Bu Huegu got up, unexpectedly began to retreat. He kept stepping back, running towards the canyon's exit. But Wan Pangzi would not give him the chance. He rushed over first, blocked the retreat of Bu Hue Valley. Step by step, the unmelting valley was pushed deeper into Win Village. Wan Shidi, pause for a moment. Zhu Yunfeng called out to Wan Pangzi. What do you want to do again? Wan Pangzi turned around, the gaze towards Zhu Yunfeng. It was ruthless. First, take the 5 musical notes off your back. On the back, Wan Pangzi first glanced at me from afar. When I realized I didn't have those 5 notes in my hand, seems to understand something. Reaching out to touch the back, a talisman is produced. Wan Pangzi's talisman was thrown out. He spoke in a low voice. Lai Leadi, what you're doing is quite ungrateful. I replied coldly, there's no such thing as loyalty or betrayal. If I hadn't done this, how could it be possible to discover you were lying to me? You were always capable of manifesting words. You two should not get caught up in these small matters for now. Then the unrefined valley consumed all 5 musical notes. Wan Pangzi, you still haven't acted yet. You are anxiously pointed at the unmelting valley path, looking towards the unmelted valley. Then the unrefined valley happened to swallow the blood-stained musical note into its mouth. As he swallowed the 5 musical notes, when Bu Huegu looked at Wan Pangzi again, the new red gaze is no longer there. As he stepped back, suddenly their gaze turned toward me, suddenly jumped up. It lunged towards me. This sudden attack caught me off guard. Bu Huegu lunged forward. I can only wait for death. Even Wang Pangzi beside him was taken aback. You should know that just a moment ago Bu Huigu was still afraid of him and backing away. His behavior shows that he is not just a walking dead, and intelligence is inferior. Soul control. Quickly use the soul control spirit. Zhu Yunfeng quickly reminded. I touched the soul controlling spirit and it began to stir, although I don't know if it will be useful. But at this moment I can only treat a dead horse as if it were alive. Indeed, Zhu Yunfeng did not deceive me. When shaking the bronze spirit again, Na Bu Huigu suddenly stopped in his tracks. Stopped too abruptly, directly pouncing from the air to the ground, when it fell in front of me, kicking up clouds of dust. But even so, he remains standing upright. The gaze has become dull. At this moment, Kan Hunling can control Bu Huigu. It must be related to that substitute, the 5 notes. Finally resolved the trouble. Zhu Yunfeng walked over. He patted Wang Pangzi on the shoulder and said, "Wan Shedi, you did well." His voice was oddly sarcastic. Wang Pangzi furrowed his brows. I understand what he is saying. Wang Pangzi pretended not to know how to transform this sword. Zhu Yunfeng clearly did this on purpose to expose him for my sake. Lai Liadi, take it. Once this sword restored its original form, Wang Pangzi handed it to me. Zhu Yunfeng leaned in closer, carrying greed and curiosity. I quickly grasped it in my hand. Do not let him see the true form of this sword. Compared to Wang Pangzi's deception, Zhu Yunfeng is even more terrifying. At least, all the way here, Wang Pangzi is worth the backup. Wang Pangzi assessed the controlled Bihua Valley by his peers. This thing needs to be dealt with quickly. Otherwise, the problem will be very serious. Let's go. The aura here is too heavy. It's not suitable to cover it up. I control the unmelting valley, heading towards Ligia village. Wu Huigu is still my father after all. The so-called fallen leaves return to their roots. I must take him home to transform. 2 junior disciples. Wait for me. Zhu Yunfeng saw that Wang Pangzi and I were ignoring him. So he took the initiative to enter the household. To be honest, he is no longer useful to us. On the contrary, his presence still makes me and Wang Pangzi feel a sense of danger. Always be on guard against him. Of course, he wants to follow me,